we'll do a little flow that is gonna get us a little bit everywhere. Hips, spine, upper back. And we're gonna start with the hips. We're gonna just sit for a moment with the legs straight. You can take your hands back behind you. If it's comfortable, you could even close your eyes for a moment. So I always want to start with a little glimpse, a little moment of noticing what's present, what is in the foreground, what is alive within you. And we don't have to take a special meditative posture for that. Sometimes it's nice to just take a pause at random moments so that we create this habit of tuning in throughout the day, whatever our posture happens to be. See if the breath wants to move in any different way. A sigh, a breath out through the mouth. And then gradually, while I'm still observing, I'm going to just let my feet, legs go a little bit wider. I'm going to let the toes turn in and out. So I bring in some rotation for the hips. And I'll do two variations. So I'll do first these floppy ones, kind of the springy ones. So in this way that the legs are kind of bouncing. And I'm not really almost doing it myself. So what we're tapping into is this springiness, elasticity in our tissues. And then you could slow it down and you could do it more muscularly where you really feel the turning, you stay in that inner rotation and you feel the musculature of it, and you turn them out and you stay and take a breath. And we'll do just maybe one or two more, just depends on your pace. And I'm feeling those movements like through the leg joints, but mainly I'm coming all the way up to the hip with my awareness. And then next time, when the toes are moving through the center, relax them, relax the legs, and just bounce your legs up and down, up and down, up and down. So we brought the awareness there. Let's bring, while they are bouncing, I'll bring a little bit of tapping in as well. So I use all of these different ways how we can create the better mind-body connection. Good. And then I'll slide the feet onto the mat and we'll do the similar movement in and out from here. So your feet can be hip distance. You can play with their width. I'm going to let the knees come towards each other. That's not going to be a big movement. And then I'm going to let them flop away from each other. So really feel free to experiment with the positioning of the legs. And at first I'll do it again, kind of not as floppy, because that doesn't feel very good to let my knees completely drop for me. But I'm not very muscular. I'm just kind of moving the knees in and out. I'm not really pushing the feet onto the ground much right now. So a couple of more times like this. And then I'll add a little bit of my heels are pressing down a bit, and I slow it down. So there's more muscle contraction while I'm moving the knees in and out. And you could even do knees down and slightly towards you. So then you might feel even more engagement through the legs. Then I keep an eye on that my chest doesn't kind of contract or my jaw, so that other parts that don't need to be involved can stay soft. And then next time when my knees are out, I'm going to just keep them there for a moment. I just feel how this feels from this wider position. And then I'm going to slide the soles of the feet towards each other so that I can come and sit more upright. In this diamond shape, we now are going to turn our attention from the hips to the spine. And I'm going to try to locate this lower half of the spine and the pelvis and see if I can rock back and forth from this lower center. Sometimes touch can be helpful to just bring your hand onto the belly or the lower abdomen. If other parts of the spine move, I can't keep them completely still. That's fine. But just again, working with both touch and awareness and bringing and trying to isolate the movement to one section of the spine. So the pelvis and the lower back. And then you could bring your hand higher up. So you could bring your hand onto your chest, or and let this part concave and reach forward. And as the front part concaves and reaches forward, you feel that also the back of the spine opens and closes. So now it's kind of the lower back and the mid back, that area of the spine where the ribs attached to the spine are moving. And you could do it to the rhythm of the breath, inhaling forward, exhaling back, but also sometimes I like to reverse the breath here and really breathe in while my back is broad. And then eventually I let the hand go and I bring the chin in as well, more consciously, hugging the chin to chest so the back of the neck opens, and then carefully lifting the chin so the front opens, but I'm not jamming through the back. Your hands could now be in front of your knees, so that when you lean back, you're not kind of dropping back, but you can catch yourself. And let's go maybe 1 or 2 more rounds. And this could be a fun place to breathe in while the whole back is open, and really encourage the breath into the back body, and exhale when you come forward. See how that feels in your experience. Perfect. And then next time when you're rocking through that midpoint where you're neither arching back, neither lifting or arching forward, just pause for a moment, take a breath in, take a breath out, and then a gentle rotation over to your right. So I'm going to bring my right hand back behind me. My left hand is going to come over the right knee. Okay, mirroring is going to be a challenge today, I can feel. And then I'll do a few rocking movements from here. So I'm not full deep in the twist. I'm in a mild kind of a little bit diagonal. And I let myself explore, okay, so how does that feel for my spine? If there's any discomfort, do even a little bit less. So what we do in somatics often is we really want to try to move as 3-dimensional beings and try to offer our body as much kind of various stimulation as possible. And so here also for the spine, for example. And then next time again, when I'm more kind of coming through the midsection, I'll pause. And I'll keep my right hand back behind me. I'll take the left hand and I'll open it out to the left so the chest rotates back to the forward, and I'll feel a stretch in front of that left shoulder. And then I'll curl the left elbow towards the right hip, and I'll also round my back. So that could again be inhale. When your chest opens, you face forward, arm reaches back so you feel maybe it even spirals a little bit, and then it curls. And so find again your own tempo with this template now. So now we're adding more the shoulder. You know, I'm often doing classes where I emphasize that shoulder blade movement to see if you can feel the shoulder blade coming closer to the spine as the arm spirals open, and then that broadness in the upper back as you curl. Let's go one more round like this to this one side. So we'll do a bunch of stuff on this one side. And then next time when the arm opens, you're going to let it drift back behind you. I'm going to take the soles of the feet onto the mat again, so still staying with that one side, that left side moving. I'm going to take my left ankle over the right knee now. So you could be further back, just kind of feel into it. You could experiment walking yourself a little bit higher. Move the knee slightly towards your chest. And move the knee slightly away from your chest. When you move it away from your chest, keep your pelvis steady. So the tendency is I want to create an illusion that my knee goes really far away. So I actually move from the pelvis and the waistline. So I'm keeping that steady, and a couple of more times I'm going to hug the knee towards, and I'm going to move it away. So it doesn't have to be a big movement. The thigh bone moving in the hip socket. These are little mobility exercises, so you're actively moving the thigh bone in the hip socket, so helps with range of motion and the motion that you can control in your joint. Let's go one more time, slightly coming forward, slightly moving away. And then it stays in a more kind of a relaxed position where I'm not overly like feeling a whole lot of stretch. And then I'll do a couple of tips over to the right. So I let the whole structure begin to tip over. Maybe the foot comes onto the ground, maybe not quite. That's fine. And then coming back. Again, different bodies will experience this differently. Just move slowly enough so that you can notice. And I keep my chest right now facing forward. So it is this sensation that my left hip is moving away from my left shoulder. Maybe I even lean a little bit backward with that left shoulder. And then I'll go one more time. And then this time, I'm going to let the foot come onto the ground. So if you need to kind of turn yourself a little bit more over to the right as well, that's fine. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the left hand over to the side where the foot is. I'm going to hop my outer hip a little bit more backward so that I can really kind of sit on the outer right hip. And then I'll take my right forearm down onto the ground. So move it far back behind you so that you have your elbow more or less underneath your shoulder. Now take your left hand onto your right ribs and then drop the ribs down towards the ground and sink into that right shoulder. And then do the opposite. Press your right elbow, forearm down onto the ground. The hand here again is helpful to feel the ribs moving away from the ground and also that shoulder blade hugging in down the back. So I'm sinking and kind of collapsing. And then I'm finding containment where the shoulder is working. Go a few times like this, going back and forth. Feel what the collapse feels like. And then feel what that containment feels like when the musculature is more there and present and hugging and kind of closing the joint a bit. And then let us stay in that hugged version where you're reaching a bit away from the ground, you're a little bit more active, pressing the right elbow, forearm down on the ground. Take your left hand behind your head, elbow points first up towards the ceiling, and then curl the elbow down towards the ground as if you want to thread it underneath that right arm. And rotate now like this. The rib barrel rotates up towards the ceiling. The elbow moves into the space up or even maybe back behind you. And then curls you down. Again, breath could be when the opening upward is an inhale. And the curling downward is an exhale. I'll go just one more like this, moving slowly enough to feel. So now we're really loosening up the structures in that rib cage area, upper back area. And then next time when the elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling, reach it forward, the fingertips, let the head go, reach the fingertips forward towards the head side of the mat. And now puff the ribs up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. And then do one more of those collapses where the rib cage collapses. And now the left arm moves down and kind of hovers above your left hip and the fingers reach down towards the foot end of the mat. And then circle like that one more time. So it goes up, rib cage puff up towards the ceiling, lower ribs lift away from the ground, and then the opposite where you kind of sink to the ground a little bit. Fingertips are going to reach towards the foot end of the mat. And then see if you can find stability again in that right shoulder. One last thing, take the left hand, the back of the hand now against your back body. So I've rotated the thumb down towards the ground and I place the hand kind of either lower back or mid back. You can find that position and then you do a couple of times again turning your chest towards the ground and turning the chest away from the ground. So maybe one or two more. That right shoulder might start to get tired. But again, great way to free up this upper back region. Let's do just one more, barreling downward, upward, and then release the left arm. Press the left hand, bring it in front of your kind of chest, and then we're going to come onto the right side. So I'm going to thread the right arm long in front. I'm going to rest the left thigh on top of the right thigh. So your right side is all connected to the ground. Your knees are bent in front of you. You could use the bottom arm, actually the right arm, under your head if you want. But if it's comfortable, head could be on the ground and the right hand is reaching just forward in front of your chest. Take a breath in here. We've done a long sequence with no rest. And so I want you to really feel the breath in those bottom ribs that are on the ground. Take a couple of breaths where your focus is there. Feel them pressing to the ground. So rest and integration moments, really part of a somatic practice. And then also feel the top ribs that are facing up towards the ceiling. And then one more thing for that left side. We're going to reach the left leg long, so the top leg reaches towards the foot end of your mat, and it's not hovering, so the inner plate of the foot is on the ground, and the left arm reaches forward above your head, fingertips on the ground. So one more time, we're going to get the ribs puff up towards the ceiling. Maybe even the bottom ribs are going to lift away from the ground a little bit, taking a breath in. And then we're going to start to hug the left knee and the left elbow towards each other. So you they curl in towards each other. I like to let my toes, they stay connected to the ground and the leg circles like that. But some people like to lift the leg, so you can find that. I trace my foot and my fingertips on the ground as they now move, elbow, knee towards each other, and they curl. And then I reach them away from each other, and the side body puffs open. So it could be the exhale when knee and elbow curl, and it could be an inhale when you send them long. Next time when you long, let's meet there. We'll just do a little variation of this. So your arm is reaching upward, leg is reaching downward, and I want to find a little diagonal where the leg goes slightly back behind me and the arm goes slightly forward in front of me. So maybe you even roll onto your forehead a little bit. That's my inhale. And then the knee and elbow curl together on the exhale. So I reach them away, but rather than up and down, I reach them at this diagonal. And just feel the difference. Again, slowly, couple of more times, curling in. Reaching away from the center. And then next time, when the leg is long, arm is long, I'll circle the arm around my head so that movement can roll me onto my back. I release the right leg long as well. And now we can have a proper rebound moment. So finding a position for the legs, either feet on the mat or legs long, that feels most comfortable for the lower back. And let's have a little moment where we observe, where we notice. You might feel some asymmetry in the body, and that's natural. One side has moved more, has gotten more stimulation. So see how that then compares to the side that hasn't moved. What differences can you notice? Give it another breath in. Give it another breath out. Beautiful. Bring the feet onto the mat. Take your left ankle over your right knee, so that figure four position, and begin to arch your lower back away from the ground, inhaling, and pressing the lower back onto the ground, exhaling. So usually we do this 2 feet on the ground, arch and flatten. So now I'm asking you to do the same movement but from this figure four shape. Inhaling, arching, feel the lower back contracting, and then pressing lower back onto the ground. Give it another couple of rounds with this. Nice. And then open the arms out to the sides. And we'll move now this figure 4 shape or the thread and needle shape from side to side. You could start small. The knees are gonna drop a little bit over to the right, a little bit over to the left. Start small as you feel one side of the pelvis peeling off the ground, the other side of the pelvis peeling off the ground. You can keep your shoulders, your arms nice and heavy, releasing to the ground. Perfect. And then see if it works in your body to at one point drop the whole structure to your right side so the right foot comes onto the ground. If it can't easily come onto the ground, if you have a block or something that you can step the foot on. Some people step the right foot on top of the left foot. Sorry, the left foot on top of the right foot. It's the left foot that will need some propping, maybe. And take a couple of breaths here so the left knee stays pointing up towards the ceiling. It's the twist from the threading the needle. Again, sometimes it's nice to bring the right hand. I bring it to the left waistline or rib cage, encouraging some more space there or softening there. Relax your jaw. Give it another breath in. Give it another breath out. Beautiful. And then I'll start to curl over onto that right side while I'm releasing the right leg. So I'll come to lie on my side once more, taking a breath here, taking a breath out, and then pressing onto the ground, curling up to seat, coming back to soles of the feet together. Pausing for a moment, and again, could be just one more glimpse of comparing the sides perhaps. How does this left side breathe versus the right side? Or a sense of spaciousness or levity, or simply how aware you are from one side compared to the other. There's a long sequence on one side, so let's see to the other side. Let's do between the sides. A quicker version of lower back, doing a few rounding and arching movements. If again the hand helped, bring it in to feel that area. Then include the midsection, the part of the spine where the ribs are attaching to the spine. Then consciously include the neck. And then next time when you are moving again through that midpoint of arch and flatten pause, and begin to turn yourself over to the left now. So the left hand comes somewhere onto the left of you, right hand comes onto that left knee, mild twist, and then starting to find the rocking movement from here. Doing a few rounds. Then pause. Start to open the right arm over to the right, and then curling elbow towards the left hip. Coming a little bit forward on the sit bones, and then rocking back on the sit bones when you curl. Let the arm maybe even spiral open a little bit so shoulder gets some stimulation. Perfect. Next one, when the arm opens, let it come back onto the ground, back behind you. We're going to take the soles of the feet onto the mat, and then taking that right ankle now over the left knee. Gonna pause here for a moment. Find the right position, whether your hands are further back or further forward, so that you have some room to do that little movement where the knee comes in and the knee moves away, even if it's a millimeter. And I'm going to try to, again, really feel that my pelvis is not wiggling. Again, nothing bad will happen if your pelvis wiggles. It's just building this awareness. Can I just move and isolate and move from just one joint? Just a couple of more rounds with that. I can feel quite active. And then let that movement go for a moment. Take a breath in, take a breath out. And then let's experiment tipping the whole kind of structure over to the left. And then coming back. I'm creating distance between that right shoulder and right hip a bit. So I keep my chest facing forward, or maybe even slightly spiraling away. Let's go a couple of more times. Sometimes I like to turn my head in the opposite direction. And then next time when your foot comes towards the ground, see if you can set it onto the ground. So the right foot comes onto the ground. You're going to come along with it, sit on the left outer hip. And again, see if your body also finds it a bit more comfortable when you do just a little full. So you're a little bit more comfortably on that outer left hip. We're going to take the left forearm down this time, elbow under the shoulder in the space back behind. We're going to play a little bit with shoulder stability. So letting the ribs sink towards the ground, and it's a collapse into that shoulder, and then finding the shoulder blade hugging in. Again, the hand can be helpful, the other hand, as a way to really textualize that feel of the ribs hugging away. And then let's find that contained posture where I'm pressing down. This feels steady and solid, the left shoulder. Then the right hand can come behind the head, and we can come into our curls, curling towards the ground. Breathing into the back of the ribs, and then letting the ribs rotate up towards the ceiling. Really find a yummy pace. Slower can be better. We can notice more. It works better in sync with our nervous system, so we are sure to not override any signals that come from the body. Let's go one more round. And then next time when the elbow is up towards the ceiling, I'm going to let the head go and reach forward. I'm going to again lift the lower ribs and puff the upper ribs, inhaling. And then the arm makes this arc where it goes up and then down, and I also at the same time sink a little bit through the ribs. Just one or two more times, really emphasizing this top hip is moving away from the top shoulder waistline, and then it actually contracts at the top and opens at the bottom. Next time when the arm is facing downward, rotate your thumb down towards the ground and take the hand into that position of internal rotation in the shoulder, hand behind your back, and then to couple of rolls. And if it starts to get tired sooner for you, if this bottom shoulder is complaining, you're going to come onto your left side earlier. I'll do one more. And then pause, release the right hand, take it in front, press it down so you can liberate the left hand, thread it under, unhook the top leg, right leg, lie on your left side now. Again, you could have something under your head. Sometimes it works to have the bottom hand as a pillow. So just feel that the neck is comfortable. Just take a couple of breaths here. Just again, feeling the different texture of the breath and the bottom of your ribs as they press to the ground more and have that feedback and that restriction. Versus when you take your attention to the top ribs, that can freely open up towards the ceiling. And then what else do you notice? Just a breath here or two or however long you need before we add one more flow of side body reaching long. When you send your right leg to the foot end of your mat, the right arm towards the head end of your setup, you keep reaching long and you notice that length in the bottom side can shorten away from the ground. And then you hug the elbow and the knee towards each other as your foot might slide and the fingers are sliding on the ground. And again, just you're going to find your flow with this. Long, and then coming towards your center, elbow towards the knee, knee towards the elbow. Next time when the foot is down, arm is up, find the diagonal, slide the leg slightly behind you, slide the arm slightly forward, maybe you even roll slightly towards your forehead. Breath in, and then curl the elbow, knee towards each other. And then slide them at the diagonal. So similar, but just at a little bit of a degree of a different position. See if you can feel it in different places in the body. And then next time when the arm and the leg are long, I'm going to circle the right arm around me so that movement can roll me onto my back. Maybe you need a little shuffle to get back onto your mat, and then let's pause. It's quite a long sequence to do without pausing. So let yourself now really land in stillness, in observation. Not to fix or change, but to make more space what is there. So maybe even notice a little bit more nuance. We'll give it another breath in, we'll give it another breath out. And then slide your feet onto the mat. Take your right ankle over the left knee. We do pelvic rock movement from here, so hands could be anywhere, or you could touch again your hip bone so that you can feel it's the pelvis that's doing the moving, the lower back is receiving that movement. Arch and flatten, lower back presses away from the ground, and then it flattens against the ground. Inhale as you arch. Exhale as it flattens. Beautiful. And then next time, again, when you're kind of in that midsection, you could take your arms out from the shoulders and starting to rock this figure four shape with the legs from right to left, from left to right. Starting small, imagining kind of the lower back area more fluid. We stay with only comfortable range, so I'm not aiming to get to the ground at all. The head could slowly roll in the opposite direction. until at one point, if it works in your body, to bring that right foot onto the ground on the left side, so the knee stays pointing up towards the ceiling. Again, figure if you need props, the first thing that I would go to would be to elevate that right foot on top of something, might make it more accessible. You could have the left knee slide a little bit more higher up so the right foot comes closer, or a little bit further down. And then this posture, the kind of the medicine here is in the release. So even though the knee is kind of pointing up, sometimes I like to prop it a little bit with my left hand on the inner knee, but I'm relaxing as much as I can around the right buttock, as if the bum is really heavy or there's a weight tied to that sit bone and is drawing it down towards the ground. If you found it helpful, you could bring your left hand again somewhere where you want to create some space, so the waistline area, the lower rib area where the diaphragm attaches to the ribs. Soften your jaw. Stay with the sensations, the felt sense. What do you notice? One more breath in. One more slow breath out. And then begin to curl over onto your left side, while at the same time you releasing that right knee. You can stay curled on the side for a breath or two. And then press down and curl up to seated. You can take the soles of the feet together again if that is comfortable, staying for a moment, maybe the eyes close. There might be more sensations on that right side as that has had fresher stimulation. Take a breath in, take a breath out. And then I'll break the class kind of in two. So if you want to stay close to the ground for the last minutes, you could come to more like a yin shape of folding forward into a butterfly, or if there's any other forward fold that you prefer. I'm going to do a quick kind of a standing posture for those who want to actually finish in a bit of a high note. So just tune in where you're at right now. Have a moment. Not what you should do, but really kind of what is your body telling you? If you don't know, just come and try one of the options. So the folding forward, prop it up. You can stay here, and then whenever you feel a sense of completion, you can release to the ground. If you're coming for a flow, I'm going to find a squat as my transition, taking a moment here, and then coming to forward fold by lifting the hips up. And if you need to transition, so I'm facing the long end of the mat so that I can take my feet a little bit wider and they're still on the mat and my knees are soft. And I just let the body kind of roll forward, or the upper body drape forward while the legs are working. And then we're going to press down onto the ground and we're going to curl up standing. Once you're standing, you're going to walk your feet wider with the toes pointing out, and then starting to find your standing squat here. So I want to feel all corners of the feet pressing down. We can do a little bit of bounce up and down. And then you're going to turn, once you find your stability, you're going to turn your chest over to the right, lower it towards the right thigh, circle through the front over to the left, and then rise facing the left. And then going in this half circle from side to side, legs are strong. I like to exhale and then inhale, rise, strong through the legs. Good. And then next time when I'm at the center, I'm going to pause. My hands are on the knees. You could also kind of rest and sink into your shoulders here a little bit for a moment to kind of find a bit more release for the legs. And then finding the strength again. And then we're going to move a little bit more organically from side to side. And again, tap your ribs with your fingers. And then let the ribs lead. So it's like a seaweed movement. Once you don't need the hands anymore, they can go anywhere. They can be seaweeding with the spine. If you need a little break, your legs need a little break, you can pause and then come back into it. And then really feel that your head is following the rest of the spine. From the ribs. Lateral movement for the spine. Couple of more rounds. Nice. And then coming up to standing, feeling the power, strength in your legs. Opening now the heels a little bit wider so the toes are facing forward. That was our little standing flow. Take a breath in. Exhale, 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 fold. Stay in the forward fold for a couple of breaths. See the hands under the shoulders or fingers in line with the toes. Letting your head drop. Take a breath in. Take a slow breath out. And then we'll transition back with the feet coming a little bit closer, sitting down into a squat, and then possibly coming back to seated. We just have a few moments of the 45-minute length of the class. So if you were in that forward fold and you're still there, you might want to come up and take your rebound on the back. If you came into the standing flow with me, just see if you want the last minutes to lie on your back, or do you want to stay upright and seated in a short meditation where we can cultivate here the balance of that active energy that we brought in, but then still staying kind of grounded and spacious as we stay still for the last couple of minutes of the session. So again, the ending is yours. And you could also take this practice further. So if there's something else that the body needs, keep going. I'll hold space for a couple of more minutes here. So find a still shape. And then keep making space for whatever is arising. The sounds from your environment. They move through this spacious awareness. The sensations of your breath. are arising within awareness. The feel of having a physical body is arising within this field of awareness. And then if you can stay for a little bit longer, I encourage you to do that if you knew that this was the time you had, where you feel a sense of completion, transition in a way that is slow and tender and kind. Before moving into your day, have another moment of pause and notice what's in the foreground now. How do you sense your own aliveness now? And then if you want to add any gesture as a way to seal your practice, to add an intention, a prayer, this could be a good space for that. Thank you so much.